Hello, everyone, and welcome to the sixth episode of Hitting the Field Off Season. I am your host, Edgar Rodriguez, and today, this episode is dedicated solely to the beautiful game. Yes, soccer. We'll be talking all things that just happened in the 2023-24 European domestic seasons. We'll be looking ahead to the summer tournaments of course, the European Championships and Copa America. And stay tuned because we're going to end this one with some way too early predictions for next season. So stick around because this episode of Hitting the Field Off Season starts right now. All right, everyone, welcome to the first segment where we will be recapping the 2023-24 European domestic seasons. I'm joined by our wonderful guests, Patrick DeLeon, Daniel Valdez, and Luca Costa. How are we, boys?
Good.
I'm
Perfect.
again,
Glad to be here. This is great. This is gonna be fun.
yeah, me and
Yeah.
Edgar probably feel the same, so we're probably pretty painful right now.
Yes, we'll be expressing our Arsenal fandom, Luca, for sure. But we will get started with Daniel, the Real Madrid fan here, our resident La Liga expert. So take it away, Daniel. How did Real Madrid do this past season?
Yeah, so over the weekend, actually, it was the Champions League's final, and Real Madrid actually won it. They beat Dortmund. They beat them 2-0. It's their 15th UEFA Champions League title and trophy that they've gotten. They Dortmund only got themselves 12 fouls compared to Real Madrid's 8 fouls. Real Madrid had a lot of control of the game, especially in the second half, having almost like 60% of the possession of the ball, 6 shots on the goal. Real Madrid did really impressive, and they are preparing for next season because speaking of them, they actually just signed Mbappe. Mbappe, he just came from Paris Saint-Germain. He was a really good player for them, winning them 5 Ligue 1 titles in just this past season. He had 27 goals, 7 assists. He had started 24 games. He got himself a five-year deal worth 15 million euros. That is really impressive for a player, and he should be a really big impact for the team, and it should help Real Madrid become better for next season. And we all know about Real Madrid and their classic rivalry against Barcelona. Well, just over the weekend, Barcelona announced that they have fired Xavi. Xavi Hernandez, he was actually a player for Barcelona like several years ago. So, and he was part of those Barcelona teams that won around like 6 trophies and had done a lot of success for them when it was a player. But since he was a coach, he's only won them 2 trophies. Yeah, all 3 of his seasons when he became a coach, only 2 trophies. Just this season alone, Real Madrid got 3, but they seem to be replacing with Hansi Flick, and hopefully he'll be able to get them soon. But as of now, a la Madrid, not a mass.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny to kind of see the contrast between the two biggest clubs in Spain, of course, with Real Madrid and Barca. And just another quick note on Real Madrid, they only lost 2 games this season, and they were both away to Atletico Madrid, of course, in the Madrid derby, one in La Liga, one in the Copa de España. But Patrick, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Hansi Flick coming back into club management? Of course, he was the former manager of Bayern, didn't do so well as Germany coach, got sacked, of course, got knocked out in the group stages of the
Mhm.
of the last World Cup. Do you see this being successful for Hansi Flick and Barca?
I personally I never thought Xavi Hernandez was a good appointment as a coach in the first place.
Okay.
I mean, let's look at Barcelona as a whole. They are a mess. They have been a mess. They are a shadow of their former selves from 6, 7 years ago. So
100%.
they really need somebody that can rejuvenate this team, take them to the right direction. Like they're still very much a competitive team, but they are nowhere near where they used to be. I think Hansi Flick could absolutely help incorporate those qualities back into this team, but he also needs to find the right players that are willing to do that for him. Because Barcelona have also had a lot of, in my opinion, missed transfers. Players that just didn't really seem to care too much.
Right.
Obviously, it really depends. Time will tell. Definitely, I would try to give him at least 2 years because nothing can happen overnight. One season really isn't enough time for many coaches to instill a new style of play for teams. So give him 2 years. I think he could do a good job with this team, though. I think they can go back to being very competitive again, but we'll have to see how they start off.
No, absolutely. And Hansi Flick again will have to find his feet in club management because international management is so much different. All right, that was good for La Liga to kick things off, but now I'll throw it over to you, Luca. Serie A Ligue 1, how did the seasons go in Italy and France?
Well, to be honest, it went just about as anyone who watched soccer would predicted. In France, PSG won. Whoop-de-doo. Oh my goodness. Who would have guessed that one? Yeah, right.
What a
Oh wow.
surprise.
Yeah,
I
I know,
know.
right? Shocker, shocker. Yeah, man. So yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, France is France, man. It's a farmers league. It's Uber Eats League One. Like it's pretty embarrassing, bro. Mbappe was the top goal scorer, 27. Lacazette fell right behind him at 19. He's really finding his footing back again. In France where he really took off his career Olympically on, and so now he's back there doing it again. But some exciting news in France. Jonathan David, again, the Canadian striker star. He had 19 goals again for Lille, top scorer for his club. And actually, France, the French league had in Marseille, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Arsenal club legend,
Of
won the
course.
player of the tournament. I think in the Europa League or Conference League, one of them. I don't remember which
It
one.
was
The
Europa League.
Canadian.
Europa
Yeah, see,
League.
I wouldn't know because my team plays on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So, but yeah, so it was just about what we expected. In Serie A, it was a little bit different, I guess. Honestly, it was very surprising for Napoli, who after last year winning the Serie A, finished all the way in 10th place, which is absolutely embarrassing.
That's
There's no,
embarrassing.
yeah, there's no way,
Unbelievable.
there's no way Osimhen stays another season there. If he does, he's literally lost the plot. I don't understand why he would stay there. I forgot. I don't know how to say. However his name is, right?
Kvaratskhelia.
Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, right. Whatever. Yeah, but yeah, he's a great player, great guy from Georgia, of course. But they just weren't able to get it done this year, and then of course, Inter Milan ended up taking the Serie A title because AC Milan just has not been the team for quite some time now. Inter Milan went to this Champions League final last year, 2 years ago, I believe. Maybe no, last year. I think it was last year. We had
Yeah.
Champions League final then. So they're just proving their defensive dominance. Italian center back Bastoni, who is someone we can probably get into later when we talk about the Euros. Yeah, it's just they're playing really good football right now. They're playing great defensive football, and there's just not a lot of teams that can really compete with them in Italy, Europe. It's a whole different thing. But yeah, no, it's really complicated right now. But yeah, I mean, Serie A's, Inter, but France, we could have. You could have guessed that one with your eyes closed. You could have guessed that one 4 years ago. Probably would have been right. It really wouldn't matter.
Right. No, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, for Napoli, they finished 41 points behind Inter as the
That's
reigning
gross.
champions.
It's
Just
disgusting.
embarrassing. Embarrassing. I don't see how Osimhen stays. I don't see how Kvaratskhelia stays. They have
Yeah.
such good quality, but all the imbalance with the manager and sacking managers, and
Mm-hmm.
just did not find their footing this season. And then
Yep.
yeah, Inter Milan ran away with Serie A, 19 points ahead of second place, just unbelievable. But
Mm-hmm.
now we'll move over to a league that had something incredible happen. Patrick, talk to us about the German Bundesliga, but more specifically about undefeated Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a talking point that anybody that's a football fan is pretty much talking about. Bayer Leverkusen with an invincible season, sorry, winning two domestic trophies. They made it all the way to the Europa League final, but that's where their invincible season, I mean, the continental treble would end
Yeah,
because they did lose 3-0 to Italian side Atalanta. But that doesn't discredit anything they've done this season. They set a record for 51 consecutive games unbeaten across all competitions. They finished the Bundesliga in first place, 90 points, 28 wins, 6 draws, 0 losses, beating out the likes of Bayern Munich, who are
right.
the dominant force in Germany. They have dominated this league for the last
Yep.
11 years, 11 straight consecutive Bundesliga titles. And Bayern Munich finished in third place, which for them, that's embarrassing. You don't ever see that happen
That
with
doesn't
Bayern
happen.
Munich.
That does not
Yeah,
happen.
so Leverkusen, I mean, man, they really Xabi Alonso, a fantastic job. I loved him as a midfielder at Real Madrid. So it's awesome. It's amazing to see him be so successful in rejuvenating this Leverkusen side when he took over from the previous season. This is something I don't think anybody expected to happen. I mean, it's truly just
Facts.
it's an
Facts.
unremarkable, like it's insane to think about. Um, and also for other talking points for the Bundesliga season, we're gonna have 7, maybe even 8 teams compete in European competitions. That is an absurd number. I know
Yeah.
the formats for these tournaments have expanded, so that allows more teams to come in,
Right.
but that's going to be plenty of teams. So Leverkusen, Stuttgart, Bayern, Leipzig, Dortmund, they're going to be in Champions League.
Yep.
while
All of them are in the
Frank
Champions League. That's
All
crazy.
five.
That's
Frankfurt
All lost
yeah
to me.
yeah yeah Frankfurt, Hoffenheim are going to be in the Europa League, and Heidenheim are in qualification playoffs for Conference League. So you're going to have potentially 8 teams right there. But
That's
I also
crazy.
want to talk about Stuttgart, because Stuttgart, they finished in second place in the Bundesliga. Last year, they were in the relegation playoffs. They were
Yeah.
on the brink of going
Unbelievable.
down to the second Bundesliga.
Yep.
So seeing them finish above the likes of Bayern, Leipzig, Dortmund, and other teams and finish second and qualify for a Champions League is also an unreal story. So very props to them. They put in the work. They deserve that just as much as anybody else.
Yeah, don't sleep on the Bundesliga. Lots of big talking points this past season. But Daniel, I wanted to ask you this because, of course, Real Madrid beat Bayern on their way to their 15th Champions League title, 4-3 on aggregate. It was a controversial ending to the second leg, of course, with the Bayern goal. Was it offside? Was it not? How did you feel playing Bayern in the, what was that, the quarterfinals, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe it was quarterfinals. That it was a really good and competitive game. I mean, I can understand from the angles of seeing if it was offsides or not. So still a lot of big questions marks on how they will try now doing with the rules and seeing if they can
It's
find some way to make sure it's much more clarified on what is an offside and what isn't. Because I believe now they're even like doing some like implication rules of like even if your toe is out there, that's not going to be considered like offsides because it's like so little of you.
Right.
But
You can score with your toe though. That's
yeah,
offside.
but hey, but if it's a win, it's a win. So I will take it.
My man said a win is a
I think
win.
Bayern was robbed for that one.
That's
It
offside,
was
isn't it?
it was an incredible ending to that. And it was actually the semis now that I think about it, because of course Bayern knocked us out, Luca, in the
Yeah, I don't
quarter.
want to talk about it. Yeah,
I don't want to
those
talk about that
guys.
either. That's the only time that will be mentioned this episode. But Patrick, thank you for that Bundesliga update. And now we'll round off with what happened in the English Premier League. Of course, Manchester City doing it again, an unprecedented fourth league title in a row. Arsenal finishing second to them for the second year in a row. And this season, we pushed them all the way, 2 points. It went down to the last day. Unfortunately, West Ham couldn't do anything against Man City. We did all we could against Everton. It was an incredible last day, but props to Man City. Yes, they have the 115 charges against them, but they just find a way to keep winning. Luca, do you have something to say about that? Because
Bro,
I
yes.
am also frustrated. 115 charges, when is this going to get resolved, man?
That's like, bro, my thing is, bro, if my club were to spend $400 million in like the past 5 seasons, I'd expect some championships too, bro. Like, oh my goodness,
The
bro. That's
oil
really
money.
bro. I mean, yeah, bro, but you know what? I'm not gonna sit here and blame the oil money because the season changed when we lost 2-0 to Brighton. That was the game, that was the season,
It
or that was the
did.
game this season changed, bro. Because if you look at it, we didn't lose to a single top 6 club all year, bro. We really did not lose a single top 6 club all year
We did
long,
not.
but City won the big games that were important. So I'm not gonna sit here and
Yeah, speaking about that 2-0 loss that we had against Villa at home, Patrick, I wanted to ask you, similar to Stuttgart, Villa qualified for the Champions League and the Premier League the first time in 41 years.
Yes.
Let's finish this first segment with that. What are your thoughts on that? Villa in the
So
Champions League.
this is something I said back in like January on our bet show, that I had Villa finishing fourth place. I mean, they were already in that spot, but it was just a matter of whether they could hold on to that. And I'm like, yeah, they're more than capable of doing so. Tottenham, I had no faith in them regaining that spot.
Never,
So
never.
Tottenham finished in Europa League anyway,
Yes.
right below Aston Villa. So
Yep.
I think Aston Villa, even though they ended the season on a little bit poor run of form, they still managed to retain that spot at 68 points on the season. Tottenham are at 66, so very close. But now it's time for Aston Villa to get the signings they need to prepare for the Champions League season, because it's going to be a rough one, because they're going to try to balance Champions League and the Premier League. So they could drop quite a few places in the
Right.
Prem, depending on their focus. So it's going to be, they need to find the reinforcements that they need.
it's
And
gonna
we
be a
saw,
Newcastle
yeah,
situation. I'm telling you, it's just gonna
that's
be
what I
like
was gonna say, Luca.
yeah, they're gonna go
Exactly what I
in
was
there
gonna
and
say.
they're gonna go in there. They're gonna have too much football on their plate. They're gonna get bounced in the Champions League, and then they're gonna suffer in the league.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah, I can see that happening for sure. And just one final thing on the Premier League, of course, the three promoted teams from last season, Sheffield United, Burnley, of course, minority owner JJ Watt now, and Luton Town all getting relegated back down to the Championship. Up to the Premier League for next season, it's Leicester City, Southampton, and Ipswich Town, who haven't seen Premier League football since the 2000-2001 season. So that's going to be so interesting. But guys,
Yep.
thank you so much for joining us on segment one. Daniel, Patrick, and Luca, thank you so much for joining us. That was fun. But stay tuned because after this commercial break, we will be talking about the Euros and Copa America. Stay tuned.
So, Tyler Brown, right? It says in my notes you're a Oklahoma fan.
That is correct.
So, let me ask you, bud. Is Texas back?
All right, I put on a brave face a lot, but this year, I'm really scared that they are, man. Okay, they just beat Alabama. They're gonna be top 4 in the rankings. And last year, they beat us 48-0.
Yeah.
It was humiliating. We're the Oklahoma Sooners. We were the best ever. We were talk of the town. We had Baker, Kyler, and Jalen 3 years in a row. And now, are we good? I don't know. We haven't won a national title since 2000. We're number 18, I think, and nothing matters, dude.
Sometimes we build up these walls thinking they're impenetrable. But sometimes you have to knock these walls down to build up bigger and stronger ones. And you got to be tough through that. It's hard being an Oklahoma fan at this time, but grass is always going to be greener on the other side of the hill, buddy.
Is it? I cannot live through a Texas national championship. I can't. I'll never recover.
Do you want to talk about Lincoln Riley?
What'd you just say to me?
I just want to know if you want to talk about Lincoln Riley.
Welcome back for segment 2 of the Summer of Soccer special, and I'm joined for this one by Andrew Montana, who is usually a host. Today we swapped roles. How's your summer going, bro?
Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. Actually, a surprise for you if you may have not
Okay.
seen before.
Oh,
Let's see. We got a little unveiling to do. Some new
okay.
cakes just came in.
Yo,
Let's take a peek.
let's
Take
see
a quick
'em.
little peek.
Look at that. Oh, bro, I better see them around the studio.
I'm not wearing these to studio. I
No?
can promise you that. Absolutely not. No, these are strictly for hoops. Indoor hoops only.
No, that is beautiful,
Yeah, those
bro.
just came in. I know those could be kind of pricey sometimes, but just so the audience knows I'm not splurging, those were like $30 off, like a
Hey.
good sale on the Dick's website. So,
We will
not
not
upset.
miss those sales on Dix. I'm also on those, bro. Always
Yeah.
have to keep your eye on them. But for this segment 2, we'll be talking about the Euros and Copa America, 2 summer tournaments which are set to start up later this month. So, Andrew, talk to me about your Euros dark horses, who you think is going to take the trophy, and your potential group of death.
For sure. So to start off in the Euros, my dark horse is going to be Croatia. Because in recent history, Croatia's had, some good experience, especially in these tournament runs. Just in 2022, the team got third place, losing 3-0 to Argentina in the semifinals and then beating Morocco 2-1 in that match for the bronze. So, there's some great World Cup history there. And then Luka Modric, he's still on the squad as well from Real
Yep.
Madrid. He's amazing. And he's had World Cup experience since Rio in 2014. And I guess if we're going to look at recent history, you have to talk about just last year, almost like a year, like 365 days to like within a couple weeks or something.
Yeah.
Croatia did lose to Spain in that last matchup in the UNL and penalties, so that's tough to see. But I think what's funny is that Croatia is the ninth favorite of the tournament to win it
Yeah.
all. But I think if the squad doesn't do well, divine intervention has to take place at some point because the squad got blessed by the Pope, excuse me, on Wednesday morning. So that's a cool thing to see, I guess. So
Yeah. Hey,
so yeah,
we'll
I'll be
take
going
it.
with Croatia for my dark horse.
Yep.
Sorry, you have to say something?
No, I was saying Croatia will take all
Oh,
they can to get far in this tournament.
yeah. No, I mean, regardless of the positioning and all that, it's still a really good squad, really tenured, really tenured
It
squad.
is. It is.
But yeah, so that's my dark horse. For my champion, my predicted champion, I'm going with Germany, third favorited overall, plus 500 odds. So if you're gonna put down some money, I don't think that's too bad of a selection. And we talked about it a little bit before the show, Manuel Neuer, that we
Yes.
believe he's gonna be the starting keeper.
Probably. Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. The only reason I bring that up is just because he's like the guy that got me into goalkeeping when I was little. Bigger body, so and basketball background, so I
There
took
you
up the
go.
entire net, So yeah, he really got me into goalkeeping there. But outside of him, Nicholas Füllkrug, he's a forward for the German squad out of Dortmund. He's got great offense, especially like balancing the responsibilities of scoring for himself and playmaking for his teammates. He got
Yeah.
12 goals and 8 assists in the 2024 season for Dortmund. But something else that kind of captured my eye a little bit upon doing research was that 27% of Germans, according to a survey, don't care about the tournament, which of course is like, is a little iffy as it is. But considering the tournament takes place in Germany, that there are 10 games taking place in the motherland, on top of the final match being in Berlin on July 14th, if I'm not mistaken. That's, something to worry about, I believe, which the German squad can take as motivation, if you can make that argument.
Yeah.
But also, I think we also talked about it beforehand that if Germany makes like a good run deep
Right.
into the tournament, I think that 27% is gonna go like trickling down to the single digits. Because at the end of the day, like it's high end football, so there's always something to root
100%. And
for.
Germany hasn't seen a home tournament in over 20 years. So absolutely, if this
Wow.
team, and they have a good chance of going far. A lot of predictions
Mhm.
I've seen have them going all the way towards the semis or even the final. Um, don't worry, those stadiums will be full of German fans. And just a
Probably.
quick note on Neuer. Usually, yes, he does start for Germany. Of course, Ter Stegen from Barcelona is in there,
Mhm.
always fighting for that goalkeeper spot. But I honestly don't see Neuer losing his spot for this one. How about your group of death? Which group do you think is going to be the closest in terms of competitiveness?
Yeah, so my group of death is going to be Group B, which consists of the Netherlands, France, Poland, and Austria. And the reason I'm going with that squad is because, like, I mean, we saw the calculations and stuff in our little Google
Yep.
Doc, but what I did was I took the average odds of each respective country to win the entire tournament, averaged it out for like just a cumulative score for that respective group, and Group D got the best score, with the safest odds to win it all.
Right.
Second was actually Group A, which failed to be mentioned in this Zoom meeting. But yeah, I'm gonna be going with Group D because I mean it's got a lot of high end kind of potential. I think France could do its thing, Netherlands could do its thing. You mentioned that a third team could squeak in and
Right.
advance, if I'm
Yep.
not mistaken. So honestly, I don't know if Austria really is going to do much in this scenario. But yeah, I think if the third team were to squeak in, it had to be Poland. Lewandowski's still there, right?
Lewandowski is still there. He's still
He's still
scoring goals.
there. So yeah, you can't really count him out
You
even this
can.
far into his career. But yeah, I'm gonna be going with Group D.
Sounds good. No, definitely. Netherlands, France, Poland, Austria, very tightly knit. You would probably think France would win the group pretty comfortably. But those other three teams, I mean, can't really, there's not much in it. But
Yeah.
speaking of Group D, starting with my dark horse, I went with the Netherlands. Now,
Hmm.
recently, the Netherlands, you know, historically they are one of the biggest soccer nations.
For
But
sure. Yeah.
recently they did not qualify for the last Euros. In the last World Cup, they made it to the quarters. They beat the US, of course, in the round of 16. In the quarters, lost to Argentina. A controversial, crazy match that was. But we just haven't seen the same Netherlands as we did in 2010 when they got to the final of the World Cup
Hmm.
against Spain, losing out there. They got third place in the
Third
2014 World
place in
Cup,
Rio.
and this Netherlands group is completely different from that. It's like a different generation from that
Yep.
group, but it's an upcoming, exciting squad at the back. They have Van Dijk for Liverpool, who's their rock at the back, really, their quarterback almost.
Hmm.
All the good play from Liverpool goes through him first. They have De Ligt from Bayern at the back also. In the midfield, you have the likes of Gakpo, another Liverpool player. Wijnaldum isn't the same player, but still, can deliver the goods. And then up top, we talked about Dortmund with Füllkrug. They have Daniel Malen. another great attacking option, and of course Memphis Depay, who's always there. So those are my dark horses. I think Netherlands can make a sneaky run in this. And for the champion, I'm going with England. Now, they are the favorites, so it
Yes,
doesn't seem as a risky take, but England haven't won an international tournament since 1966 when they won their only
that's
international
crazy.
tournament. I mean, how? For England, you would think they are like sweeping up the trophies. That is not
Hmm.
the case. Looking forward to every tournament, they're always hyped up. They have a great squad always, but they always fall short. But I think this one is the one where it finally comes home. England have an unbelievably stacked squad. Just look at their front line. You have Harry Kane, Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden, the Premier League Player of the Season. You have Cole Palmer, who had an incredible season for Chelsea. It is just too much to look past for England. And bear in mind, Bellingham and Declan Rice in the midfield. I mean, they're going to be controlling most of the game. So I think they'll win it. And for my group of death, I like your group D take, but I'm going with group B, which consists of Spain, Croatia, your dark horses,
Hmm.
Italy, and Albania. Now, Italy, of course, making their return to Euros. They haven't been to the last one. They weren't at the last World Cup either, similar to the Netherlands.
Hmm.
But I think that group, I mean, Spain probably wins it. Albania is a tricky side. You would expect them to finish fourth, but maybe they'll sneak, they'll snatch a point or two away from those bigger teams, those higher quality teams,
Hmm.
essentially. But yeah, Group B for me looks like the toughest one for this upcoming Euros. Right. So Euros out of the way. Let's get closer to home now. Copa America,
Hmm.
which is starting up soon. Let's do the same thing. Which are your dark horses? Who do you think is going to lift the trophy in a group of death?
For sure. So, my dark horse is going to be the United States. At the
Yes.
time that we were kind of submitting our answers, somebody had Colombia written down, so I would have chosen the amarillo, azul y rojo. But yeah, we're gonna rock the United States today. Nonetheless, a great squad. Six overall for favorites with plus 1,200 odds, just to bring that in because former Betos, I got to do it.
Of course, of
Um,
course.
yeah, and I think if you have a guy, I'm not super big into soccer, right? But if you have a guy whose name I know, then that kind of says enough about it. So with that being said, Christian Pulisic here, he's only 25
Yep.
and I've known him for a good amount of time. He's put up similar to Fulkrug.
Fulkrug, yes.
Putting up basically the same stats, pretty similar players statistically
Yeah.
in that sense. 12 goals, 8 assists, so identical stats actually in the 2024 season for AC Milan. But speaking of that club, he's also gotten along pretty well with Yunus Musa.
Yep.
So, that chemistry, that new meshing on the team seems to, pay dividend, and I think it could go a long way, especially in a soccer squad. But
Yeah.
then an upcoming game this Saturday, actually, that I might actually have to tune into because my grandma's probably going to be like cursing her mind out, is going to be against Colombia. Um, I'm not sure where it is, like where it's going to be played physically, but we might have to tune into it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, who do you
Um,
think is going to win the Copa America then?
My champion, yeah. So USA, my dark horse, my champion pick is gonna be Uruguay. Currently
Okay.
sitting at third of favorite, similar to my Germany pick. Same thing, plus 500 odds to win it all. My issue with Uruguay, it's not really an issue, but let me change that actually. Uruguay's in a really win now position just because most of its stars are retiring, are getting
Yeah.
older in age. Edinson Cavani, he's 37. He retired less than a week ago. And for those of you who don't know, he's the second highest scorer in Uruguay's soccer team history behind Luis Suarez. He got 58 goals and 136 appearances for the squad and helped win the 2011 Copa America, which I didn't know. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so there's Cavani, again, mentioning Luis Suarez. He's 37 years old as well. And this doesn't have to do with the Copa, but more so on the club side of things. He said that Inter Miami is going to be his last squad before retiring. So,
Right.
it's nice to see the full circle thing with Messi as his teammate and all that. But yeah, so that kind of also brings about the whole, end of a run, end of a dynasty kind of thing,
Yeah.
with Suarez and Cavani. But yeah, no, it's been a great ride for Uruguay, but I think nevertheless, like Luis Suarez he's still up there. He's putting up 12 goals, 5 assists, and just 13 starts for Inter Miami. And then to get those numbers is one thing, but to do so alongside not even arguably at this point, the greatest soccer player of all time,
My opinion,
it,
yeah.
it goes to show, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it could be one of Uruguay's last real pushes for a while. So I think at this point it's like go big or go home. If not this year, it's like a matter of when. So,
Yeah,
there's that incentive for Uruguay.
absolutely.
Yeah, and then moving on to my group of death. We both selected Group A,
You
which
did.
consists of Argentina, Canada, Chile, and Peru. But I want to give a quick little shout out to Group D, but I'll stick to Group A for now. Yeah, Group A consists of the squad with Messi, so there's that, and then Canada, I believe, is probably going to be the weakest link in this group. But then Chile and Peru. Growing up, I've always seen those two teams, especially Peru, as really strong squad, like strong in the sense of like they can win, but also strong in like each individual guy is just big and
Yep.
like don't care about like losing a limb, it seems like. So yeah, there's a lot going for those squads. Again, I think the Maple Leafs are probably going to be like the weakest link, but if that's the case, that's nothing to be ashamed of. Um, but yeah, those are my three selections for Copa.
Yeah, so just quickly before I get into my
Mhm.
selections, USA versus Colombia is in Landover, Maryland. Probably a
Oh yeah,
little
I'm not going to that.
too far
Yeah,
for us
I'm not
this
going to
time
that.
around. Hopefully they play closer to home next time.
Yeah.
Always a great game, USA Colombia. Lots of quality. But so yeah, you went with the United States for your dark horse. I also
Mhm.
did. Now, of course, when you're looking at North American soccer, the US is of course the juggernauts, right? Like we are the highest quality nation in North
Probably, yeah.
American soccer.
Mexico's up there as well for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, and
Like,
always those games against us, always fireworks
mhm,
in those. But
yeah.
when we come up against South American squads like Argentina, like Brazil, even like Chile and Peru, like we were talking about, those are teams you don't want to play against. And I
Hmm.
just think, South American quality right now is a little higher than what we have here. But I
Oh, for
think
sure.
I think we can look. We'll probably get out of our group. How far we get obviously depends on the knockout stages, who we get in those later stages. But
Hmm.
yeah, like you said, Pulisic and Musa for Milan, they were pretty good this past season. Of course, Pulisic had a tough time at Chelsea previously. Now went to Milan, kind of
Yeah.
revived himself. Musa, even younger than Pulisic, and is already making
Hmm.
a good name for himself. And also, we can't forget Timothy Weah for the US as well, a young, again, upcoming striker who can lead the line for this American team. But I like how your pick for the champion, of course, Uruguay.
Hmm.
Similar to Belgium in Europe, a little, an older squad that's coming to the end of their run here. They would obviously love a trophy, but I'm going with Argentina. And yes, the easy pick in many people's views, right? They
I think
just
it's
won the
the
World
front
Cup.
runner as well. Yeah.
They are the favorites.
Ooh.
Um, but you don't
Yeah,
see this
favorites.
often where the Copa America reigning champion, the World Cup reigning champion, and they have a possibility of doing a three-peat. And I
Hmm.
honestly think that this side, not only with Messi, but with the likes of Julian Alvarez for Man City, for example, Emiliano Martinez in goal for obviously plays for Villa. This squad can do something historic here, and I'm tipping them to do it. They're going to retain their Copa America title, and of course, with that World Cup win, not too far, gone in the past. I think they're still riding that high of the World Cup
It's been
favor.
like 2 years, right?
It feels,
I know, I know it was in 2022, but I just don't
yeah,
remember the month because they,
I
they pushed it to later in the year
yes,
because of
it was
Qatar's
later.
weather.
Right. It was in
November-ish, right?
Qatar and it was like the first Winter World Cup. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think
yeah.
they've had the 2-year anniversary yet. It's coming up though.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
But yeah, I think, that squad just doing something for Messi as well. Hadn't won the World Cup, finally got over the line. Of course, the heartbreak from 2014, losing to
Hmm.
Germany in the final.
Yeah.
Um,
There
but
was
yeah,
even that goal that was called offsides that like was debatably not.
yeah,
I don't know if you
yeah,
remember that. I
exactly.
saw that in Costco, like on the Costco TVs. So that's a little trip down memory lane as well. But
Yes,
yeah,
bro.
looking at USA's group in Group C, going up against Uruguay, so that was
Mhm.
my championship selection. But then also
Yeah,
Panama and Bolivia. I think that's gonna probably be the weakest group in the Copa.
you
Um,
could say that,
it,
yeah.
yeah, it was statistically like according to my
Right.
little analytic stuff
Hmm.
going on,
Right.
throwback to algebra. It was the weakest group by 2.5 times the second weakest. So,
Wow.
there's that. So like if we're gonna see two teams coming out of a group, it's gonna be probably USA and Uruguay out of Group C.
Yeah, I think we can pencil those in pretty assuredly.
I think I would do
Yeah.
like, I would do like one of these pens. I'm that confident. I
Yeah,
don't even know
exactly.
about pencil. I'm leaning more towards pen. Sharpie, not yet,
Yeah,
but
probably. We could put it in ink. Let's say that.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Just
my group
depends
of
on the ink.
exactly. But
We
for my group of death, I also agree with you.
screwdriver it in.
There it is. Yes, you could. Don't worry about having to erase. I don't think you will have to. But for my group of death, yes, Group A. Look,
Mhm.
Argentina. We already spoke of them. I think they'll win it. Canada, yeah, they're probably the weakest team. I think they're on a par with Peru in terms of
You think so?
finishing fourth. Yeah, yeah, I think so because Canada, they have obviously Alphonso Davies. They have Kyle Larin, of course. He used to play for Orlando City. Um, he's still going strong for Canada. But look, Chile, they're recent winners. I believe they won the 2019 Copa America. They're always, one to look out for there.
That sounds
But
about right. Yeah.
yeah, so Group A looks like the toughest group out of all of them. But
Mhm.
look, thank you so much for joining me on segment two. I'm sure we'll enjoy the Euros and Copa America this
For
summer.
sure, for sure.
Just because the European season's ended doesn't mean that the soccer stops. There's always some soccer to watch, so I'm
Mhm.
very much looking forward to that. But stay tuned for segment three, where Patrick and I will be returning to make some way too early predictions for next season, potentially some hot takes. You won't want to miss it.
Jack, buddy, why are you here?
I don't really understand why I'm here. I got called a delusional fan. I just don't understand why I'm delusional if I think Kirk Cousins had the best mustache in the league.
Well, Jack, buddy, I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but I don't think anybody looks cool in handlebars.
But they're back, man. They're back.
They're not. They're not. Sometimes you just got to face the hard truth. It's right there in front of you. All these people, they're calling you delusional, but sometimes you got to worry about, am I projecting? Is it me? And in this
Let me
case,
tell you something, bud. It could never be me. Anything I say is factual and truth, and that's why the Vikings are going 16-1 this year.
organization, you have to look at your roster and say, I've had Kirk O'Duggins for 6 years. Maybe it's time to move on.
There is no moving on from Kirk Thuggins and Justin Jefferson.
Do you think that maybe this all started just because of a little disappointment?
Nothing has started. This is how I live, and I am not delusional.
For the final segment of this Summer of Soccer special, Patrick is back alongside me for this one, and we'll be talking or making some way too early predictions for next season. So, Patrick, are you ready to be a little risky? Some hot takes?
I probably have a couple in there. So
And I saw, of course, repping South Korea, which, of course, is related to one of your takes. But
yes,
I'll get
absolutely.
things going
Yeah.
with this one. So, of course, last season in the Premier League, all three promoted teams were relegated: Burnley, Sheffield United, and
Mhm.
Luton. And I can see that happening again. It's never happened twice in a row in the Premier League before, but I think Leicester, I mean, they have financial troubles. They just lost their manager to Chelsea. Enzo Maresca, of course, signed a
Mhm.
5-year deal with Chelsea, which seems a little like a hot take like now. I would have
Yeah,
never seen that
right.
coming. Um, he got sacked with Parma in the second division of Italy.
Mhm.
He only had one season with Leicester. So, that's pretty out there from Chelsea, but again, Leicester don't look that good coming into the Premier League. Southampton, do they have the quality? I mean, last the last season they were in the Premier League, they finished bottom. And I really
Yeah.
don't think that they've gotten any better. They came up through the playoff final. They beat Leeds just 1-0. It was a cagey match. And then Ipswich Town. And honestly, if there was a team to survive, I think it's Ipswich. Similar to Luton last season, they had like everyone behind them. They had that Premier League bounce, feeling. But Ipswich have a
I
feel-good story about them.
I'd actually kind of disagree. I feel like okay, I agree in the sense that people will be backing Ipswich, but I
Right.
think they'll end the season the same way that Luton did,
Yeah.
just right there, but not enough. I think Leicester will actually stay up. I don't
Okay.
have them going back down. It'll be rough. They'll probably finish 17th or 16th,
Right.
a couple points above the relegation line. But I think they'll stay up. But I do see Southampton going straight back down, potentially Ipswich, but they're not going to end up at the bottom of the league. But they'll probably take that third, you know, best relegation spot, I guess, the 18th. So, but I have Leicester staying up for that one,
I
honestly.
got you. I got you. It's possible. I mean, Leicester are, of course, they have that Premier League pedigree. Maybe that'll help them over the line. But what's your first take? What's your first hot take?
So for me, for next season, despite Real Madrid being this giant in Champions League and continental and world football in general, and even with Mbappe joining, obviously Mbappe joining Real Madrid, he's still looking for that first Champions League. He still needs to conquer Champions League.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen next year. I
Oh,
think now that he's joining Real Madrid, I think the expectation is going to be way too high. The stakes, the pressure on Mbappe specifically to get his first Champions League, especially with Real Madrid. I don't see them winning. Maybe they'll come up in the semifinals, even the final,
right.
but I think they'll end up losing, even though that's all they do. All they do is win Champions League. I don't see them winning one next year, at least with Mbappe.
And Real Madrid, I mean, yes, Mbappe is joining, but how are they going to line up? Because they have Vinny, they have Rodrigo up there,
Oh man.
Bellingham
They
right
just have
now.
they could make like 10
I
lineups with
know.
all the players they have. But it's a good question as to how are they gonna organize all these attacking talent they have and
Right.
not cause any internal issues that we've seen at other teams. Like, for example, PSG with Messi, Neymar,
It didn't
Mbappe,
work.
and other players, it didn't work despite
Right.
having all that talent because there was those conflicting uh personalities.
Right. They'll hope that it's not Galacticos 2.0 for Real Madrid, of course.
Hmm.
That incredible side, what, like 20 years ago now,
Yeah.
again, just fell short and all that expectation on them. But my second hot take or way too early prediction for next season is that Bayern will finish a second consecutive season without a trophy. Now, of course, they sacked Thomas Tuchel at the end of last
Mhm.
season. It just didn't work. He knew he was leaving
Yeah.
before the end of the season. It just was a mismatch, really. And I think Bayern put themselves in this position by sacking Julian Nagelsmann.
I
Before,
still don't understand that decision
no.
to this day. I still don't.
So they put themselves in this terrible position now. They get Vincent Company, who, I mean, he's managed at Anderlecht. I don't think he won the league in Belgium. He just got relegated from Burnley,
Burnley.
and I think that shows you the desperation that Bayern had to get a manager because everyone was turning them down. Even Ralf Rangnick, the Austria national team manager,
You're
didn't want
right.
to go to Bayern, and probably best for them because what happened at Manchester United and Rangnick was not good. But look, and also the Kane curse. Will they ever win a trophy with Kane? Will
You
he ever
you
get a
you
team
have to
trophy?
feel bad for him because
At this point,
he
yes.
leaves Tottenham. You go to Bayern where it's virtually guaranteed you'll win the league at least. And
Yep.
then this year, just like we were
Uh,
talking earlier, they finished third place. They won nothing. Like
it's crazy. It's actually crazy. So I think, it's unheard of for Bayern, but I think it's gonna happen. I don't think they'll lift another piece of silverware next season. How about you? What's your second take?
I mean, so okay, so my this is a hot take. Like I know if I were to put this on Twitter, I would get doxxed everything. So for me, I have Spurs winning the Premier League
Oh
very,
my
very
goodness.
early.
You
Listen,
messed
listen,
this
listen,
one
listen,
up, bro.
listen, listen, listen. I know you're an Arsenal fan, right?
Yeah.
So right off the bat, you're already shaking your head.
Uh,
But I'm only doing this for this guy right here. I don't know if you can see
Young
the
Son.
jersey,
Hey, I can get behind
but
him. I can get behind him.
listen. I he's one of the best, if not the best, Asian player to ever play the game. First Asian player to score 100 goals in the Premier League. He's achieved so many records, even with the Korean national team. I have 3 jerseys of this man. I love this man. Um, you know, I liked what I saw early on in the season with Tottenham Hotspur. They were doing really good, especially with their coach Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah.
He's done it in Australia, Japan, Scotland. Sure, they're not the same pedigree as the Premier League, but he can win. He knows how to win. The matter is Tottenham just need to find players that actually care about the team. That seems to be something that they've always struggled with, having players with that identify themselves
Hmm.
with Tottenham. Um, you saw that come up again this year. They really went on the decline
Oh yeah.
past, approaching winter break. They went on the decline from there,
Yeah.
and then here they are. They only managed to get Europa League, but I think they could win the Premier League. If not the Premier League, they can definitely win Europa League. They have enough talent in there to go far enough to do Europa League. Ange Postecoglou, he just needs to find the players that will truly care and play for the badge. That's something that you ask any Tottenham fan. That's something they've always complained about, but nobody wants to play for them.
Right.
But they have the skill set, and I just want to see Heung-min Son win a major trophy with Spurs. They were so close in the 2018-2019 Champions League season, made it to the final, lost to Liverpool, and they have not reached that. They haven't been that close ever since. So I think that next year they could contend. They can contend. I think so.
We'll see. We'll see. And look, I used to like him and Son before that miss against Man City, where he had 70% of the goal open and decided to kick it straight at Ortega. Just saying. Just saying
That
that
could have
moment,
changed
I'll
things
never
for
forget it.
Arsenal.
I'll never
Could have
forget that
changed
moment.
things.
It completely did. The title was essentially in Tottenham's hands because they played
It was
Liverpool,
absolutely.
City, and Arsenal in that run-in, and what happened happened. We all know what happened.
Yes.
But I'll be finishing my third take with Kobe Mainu. Now, he, of course, came onto the spotlight with Manchester United late on this season and proved to be one of their, if not their best player. Now, of course, the bar is pretty low at Manchester United. They're a mess. Similar to Chelsea in a way, which they're just
Oh yeah.
underperforming incredibly. But I think Kobe Mainu could be in the conversation for Premier League Player of the Season next year. I liked what I saw from him. He's, young, but he isn't afraid of taking on the challenge. I believe he scored the winning goal against Liverpool in that crazy 4-3 game in the FA Cup. And I think, look, there's no leaders in that Manchester United team right now. And I think that if he continues to have that confidence in himself, he'll probably go to the Euros with England this month. I think he can be in the conversation, just like Foden won the player of the season for City. I think Mainu, if he has another standout year, if not player of the season, young player of the season, maybe. But I think he'll definitely get one of the, Premier League awards.
I think he has a good chance at that too, because I mean, again, Manchester United, they've been a mess for such a long time.
Yes.
And really their hot spots right now would be their young players like Kobe Mainu,
Mhm.
Garnacho, etc.
Right.
They're the ones that are actually making, I feel like are truly playing for the team and making a difference. So if he could get even better numbers next season, absolutely, he could be Premier League young player or
Yeah.
even player of the season. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. You have the last pick of the Summer of Soccer special. Don't mess it up, Patrick. What do you have?
So I'll give you a little bit of slack. I have Arteta winning a trophy this next season with Arsenal.
That's what I like
A
to hear.
trophy, a trophy, a trophy. It could be
Champions
the
League.
League Cup, it could be the Carabao Cup, it could be the FA Cup, it could be the Premier League, Champions League. Well, with Arsenal, they're not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. They've just truly been like, how are you supposed to outrun Manchester City
Yep.
in over the course of an entire season while balancing, Champions League and all these other things? It's extremely hard. If it wasn't for City, Arsenal would have won the league 2 years in a row by now,
Yeah.
probably.
They would have.
It's just a matter of keeping up with Manchester City because they can easily outrun Liverpool and everybody else. But it's just that right now their main rivals in terms of
Yeah.
fighting for a major trophy, the domestic trophy of the Premier League, would be Manchester City. However, I don't know if they can do that for a third year straight. So I could have Arsenal. I have Arsenal maybe winning the FA Cup. That's something that's achievable. That's something that it's better than nothing, right? It's better than not winning anything at all. But I don't know if they have the gas left in the tank to really compete with City another
Right.
year. Because you see what happened to Liverpool and City for many years, back and forth, back and forth. Liverpool just couldn't keep up. Then they had a really bad off season,
Yeah.
you know, and It's hard to rebound from that.
It is.
But I think Arteta deserves to win a trophy with Arsenal. Whether it's a preseason trophy, you can take what you get. But I think they definitely are cooking something up. It's just a matter of really just not squandering those little opportunities that you get.
Yeah, no, just like we lost, it has to be said, to Villa at home. It was a terrible second half performance. That, looking back at it, cost us the Premier League because yes, we lost in the Christmas period to West Ham, to Fulham, but it was that Villa game in the run-in that cost us the title because you know that City are not going to drop points in that last what 15-ish
Yeah, no.
games in the
They
Premier League
turn into a
season.
different team at the end
It's a
of the season.
monster. They turn into a points machine. And yeah, I agree. I would love a trophy. Of course, Mikel did win one in his first season, the
Mhm.
2020 FA Cup.
True.
That was the
Yes,
last
yes.
trophy. But yeah, I do think that this team deserves something more than that.
Mhm.
Especially with the experience that they are gaining through these last two seasons. But
Yeah.
thank you so much, Patrick, for joining me on two segments of the first ever HTF Summer of Soccer special. I hope we can make this into a yearly thing.
Oh
Um,
yeah, absolutely. It's
yeah,
fun to read everything.
it is, it is. And hopefully we can look back and maybe see some of our predictions correct, Hopefully we didn't get them too wrong. Um,
I don't know about mine, but
but hey, thank you once again for joining. Thank you to all the other guests, to the producers, to everyone who made this possible. Stay tuned for the rest of the summer, though. HTF has much more special content coming up. But once again, from me, from Patrick, from everyone else, it's stay tuned and take care for the rest of the summer. Thank you so much.